Hello, everyone. It's Debra VeyVoda-Hamilton, and we're here for the MAAP program. Let me get this a little adjusted. Um, I am so glad that you are all here and that more people will be joining us over the next 30 minutes to talk about the MAAP program, navigating the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. I have spent the greater part of the last 6 months since this last free webinar 6 months ago, working with my group of masterminds, making sure that I am having them do their work. I've worked with their attorneys. It has been such a rewarding process for me because not only am I able to help people make a plan. Hi, Lynette. How are you? Welcome. We're just starting. I'm just talking about the last 6 months and what has transpired in the MAAP program, both with the webinar here that's starting up again. I used to give it every month, and now I took the summer off, and now I'm starting every month again. Also, the mastermind group that has just taken off because people really want help to get this program done. So as a little bit of an introduction, I'm Debra VeyVoda-Hamilton. I resolve conflicts between people over animals, so I mediate those conflicts. I don't litigate. I help people retain relationships. But in the process of doing that, I realized there was a conflict that came up between people when their pets had to be cared for due to, as I put it, the 6 Ds: death, divorce, disease, delay, disability, and disaster. How could I forget disaster? We've had so many of them recently. And if you don't have a plan in place for your pets, for those 6 Ds, you may find your pets in jeopardy. I'm an attorney who has hung up her litigation pumps. I mediate, but now I also help people. All summer, I have been going all over the country giving talks about how to plan for the care of your pet, how to travel with your pet, how to make sure your pets are cared for, whether they are dogs and cats or horses, parrots. How long do those animals live? You really need to understand the basics about making a plan. The MAAP plan sets forth the step-by-step way in which to create a program. This webinar touches upon each letter of the MAAP, so you can, if you want, navigate the journey your pet takes, or you can join us for our mastermind and have us help you do it, because that is a program that creates the camaraderie, the discussion points. I can't tell you how many people, when they're in the mastermind, go, oh my God, Debra, I didn't even think of that. I'm so glad I was here with Sue or with Mary or with Joan, because they thought of something that just never crossed my mind. Some of it was traveling with your pet. Some of it was what happens if you're getting a divorce. Some of it was what kind of food do you feed? Just as simple as that. So today we are going to run through in this webinar the 4 points you need to plan for your beloved pets. There is nobody who can take care of your pets the way you do. A number of my clients usually say, but Debra, there's nobody for me to appoint to take care of my pets. And at first glance, that may be true. I know when I speak at independent living facilities with older people with pets, they go, we don't have anybody. My kids don't want to take it. I walk the dog every day, so I don't even have a dog walker. There's nobody here to take my pet if something happens. And we spend a great deal of time taking a step back, and looking at where their pet interacts with other animals, where they interact with other people, so that they can actually find people who will give them the ability to care for their pet long-term, short-term, and help other people care for their pets and educate them on how to make a MAAP plan. So let's start at the very beginning. You have your pet, you love your pet. And a lot of people who come to my program say, Debra, I'm all set. It's in my will. And I said, well, you are way ahead of the game, and I am so happy that you've done that. The only problem with having all of your plans in your will is that you have to die. God forbid. God forbid. I don't want you to die. I want you to stay alive for a long time. I want the animals to enjoy you being part of their lives for a long time. And if all of your plans for your pets are in your will, those plans don't come to fruition if you are still alive but incapacitated. That's why I talk about the 6 Ds. So death is only one of them. I also have a number of people who are in relationships, married, getting divorced, whatever. Plans for the care of your pet going forward after a divorce are so much more easily made before you get there. So if you're in the middle of a relationship and you guys buy a dog or a cat together, or you're in the middle of a marriage and you have a bunch of animals and you're nowhere near getting divorced, make sure that your plan covers what would happen to the animals. And make sure to remember that your pet doesn't hate your ex. I'll say that again. In fact, they just wrote a column in the Westchester magazine about my process and how to have the pet very well taken care of in divorce or relationship breakup. Your pet doesn't hate your ex. Even if your ex never feeds it, never lets it out, never walks it, that person has been in your pet's life. And if given a choice in a room without you, I guarantee you your pet would walk up to your ex. So think about that when you're ending a relationship, whether or not you can see your way clear, though you hate your ex, to allow them to see their pet again as well. I'm married to my husband 30 some odd years, and he has done nothing, and I mean nothing, to care for my pets. However, each and every one of my pets hang on him every minute of every day when I'm traveling for business. And I know that he really loves them in his own way, and that he would really be lonely if he didn't have the pets in his life. So I would consider giving him one of the pets, or when I'm traveling for business, have the pets stay with him so that they could matriculate with him and see him again. Pets really do miss their other owners, even though we might not. So the 6 Ds are death, divorce, disease. I don't know how many of you watch television with all the new and wonderful cancer treatment programs that they have, Neulasta and Onpro and all sorts of things that are helping us, in Keytruda, all the things that are helping us live a longer life. And each and every one of those commercials have people staying at home with their families, which include the pet. So if you're sick, you might just have the flu, but you might also have cancer or a stroke or break a bone, which, if any of you have been on here before, that's the reason for this webinar. I broke 2 bones, my tibia and my fibia, and I had to make sure that my 9 dogs were cared for, and I realized I didn't have a plan. So that's how this plan came about. But every single one of those commercials has the animal in there, yet you might not feel well enough to take care of your pet. So you really want to make sure you have a plan in place that if in fact you're sick, you can call 1 or 2 or 3 different people to come and help you care for your pet. You don't want to give up your pet. Maybe you do, but that's okay too, because you have to find the next place where your pet's going to go. But you really want to make sure that your pet's cared for when you can't care for it. So that's disease. Disability, that's the broken legs and things like that. That's a stroke. That's anything that could happen to you, heart attack, you're in the hospital, anything, any disability. And then you have disasters, because we've had disasters. You have tornadoes, you have floods, you have hurricanes, you have fire. Do not call your neighbor to put your dog in their car when they're fleeing from the fire because the fire wasn't anywhere near your house when you left in the morning. How many of us have read in the newspaper that people could not get back to their house to get their human families because of the shift in the fire? If you have animals, you need to understand that you have to make a plan before it comes to your doorstep. You have to decide where to go and how to go. So that's why you're here today, because you love your animals and you want to know about how to make a plan. So the first part of the MAAP plan, the M of MAAP, is make a plan. Now that may seem very simple, but you really have to go from start to finish on what kind of care you want your pet to have going forward. Do you want them to live in a multiple animal family or a single animal family? Do you want them to live with children or not live with children? Do you want them to live in the city or do you want them to live on a farm? What is it that you would ultimately love to have your pets receive if you couldn't care for them? You have to make that plan. And you have to make that plan in total. You can't just, over a glass of wine, which is what we all do, decide this is what we're going to do. We're only going to do this. We're only going to go here. Oh, of course, Mary, you're going to take my dogs if something happens to me, and I'm going to take your dogs if something happens to you. That's the way we used to do it. And it worked pretty well, except that a lot of times your dogs ended up in rescue because Mary didn't realize she couldn't really keep your dogs. And so she called rescue. And there's nothing wrong with calling rescue, especially if you have a relationship with the rescue. And I always say to my mastermind group members, make sure you have a relationship with a rescue, either a purebred dog rescue that's affiliated with a national club for that purebred dog, or if you've rescued your dog from a rescue, if you've adopted it from a rescue, make sure you keep in touch with them and have a relationship with them so that they know about your dog. So it's making a plan, start to finish. What would happen if I got sick short term? What would happen if I got sick long term? We don't have a crystal ball. I wish we did. Alzheimer's, strokes, heart attacks, cancer, they all affect how we're able to take care of our pets. And I know if you're on this webinar, you want your pet to stay with you. So you really need to make sure that you make a plan that assists you in healing yourself by having your pets cared for while they stay with you. The second letter is A, M-A-A-P. So the first A is take the time to address the needs of your pet individually. What kind of food do they eat? What kind of food can't they eat? What kind of matriculation with other animals do they have? Are they good with other animals or are they terrible with other animals? Are they good with children? Are they bad with children? Do they need to be walked on a leash because they're wild at heart, or will they come when they're called? There are so many different things that we know that our pets like. Our pets like to curl up by the fireplace. They don't really like to sleep on the bed, or they like to sleep on the bed, and if you don't let them sleep on the bed, they're going to be miserable. What is it that your pet truly, truly likes? So you have to talk about food. As they get older, you have to talk about medication. You have to talk about the monthly medications you give them if you do. The heartworm, what kind of heartworm do you give them? What kind of flea medication do you give them? Do you give it topically? Do you give it orally? What is it you do with your pets? No one knows that. And after breaking my leg, I realized no one could climb into my brain and figure out how I address the needs of each and every one of my 9 dogs. Nobody. They would do their best, but they put 2 dogs together that might not get along. They would put 2 dogs together that might get along great. They didn't know because I hadn't taken the time to address the needs of each and every one of my pets. You have to take a step back and you have to address each and every need of your pet. And can I add here that if you travel with your pets, you need to make sure that on their cages, and yes, I tell you, you need to travel with a cage because those wonderful seat belts in your car are great, but if you roll your car, your dog may get injured. I know that some of us don't have cars that really facilitate crates, and so the seat belts are better than just letting them run from window to window to window. But if you can, a crate is so much better. On that crate, you want to put your name and address. You want to put an alternate name and address of someone who's not traveling with you, because God forbid you're involved in an accident. You need to have someone available to come and get your pet, or it's going to animal care and control. You also need to travel with all of your pet's documentation. maybe not around town, but it's a good idea because, you know, what do they say? You always have the car accident within a mile of your home. So it may be really good to keep all that information in your car if you're driving to and from the dog park, so that God forbid something happens, they know how to get in touch with someone to take your pet. So you put that on the crate. If you don't have a crate, make sure you have a tag of some sort, really big, you know, 5 by 7, 3 by 5 is minimum, 5 by 7 would be better, with your name, your address, your telephone number, and the name and telephone number of 2 other people, because you want to make sure that law enforcement and animal care and control can get in touch with people to come and get your dog. You don't want to leave your dog there, because after 72 hours, if you're in the hospital, your dog's up for adoption. I know, that really sucks. I hate it too, but it's up for adoption. So you really need to make sure that you thwart that at every turn and have those numbers in your car, on the crate of the dog, and on your dashboard. And if your dog isn't in a crate, make sure there's something by your dog that gives you don't want to make them think. You don't want to make them think. You don't want to make them look for something. You want to make it easier. So when you're addressing the needs of your pet, make sure that when you take them in the car, you address their needs in that if something happens to you, they're going to be picked up and taken care of by the next A, appointing caregivers. So address the needs of your pet, make a plan, address the needs of your pet, and appoint caregivers. Now, this is the hardest piece, and that's why the mastermind works so well for people, because how do you find these people? Where are they? Where do they lurk? Well, they lurk in places you would not imagine, but they're there, and they're willing to take your pets because they know you, they love you, and they want to take care of your pets. Or they know you, they love you, and you trust them to find a great home for your pet if they can't take it. So what you really want to do is you want to appoint people who know your pet. That would be really helpful. And you want to maintain relationships with the people who know your pet. Really important. Let me check in with everybody now. Does anybody have a question that let me put the chat box up. Does anybody have a question that I haven't answered, or a question's come up in your head and you want to ask me? Just pop it over in the chat box and I will address it. But if there are none, I'll continue with appointing caregivers. I think this is the most important piece. So you have your family, and that's really great. But if you're sick, they're going to want to take care of you. And if a member of your family is sick, you're going to want to take care of them. I found this out, I guess 2 years after I broke my ankle. So I broke my ankle, my tibia and fibia, my ankle. I really did a nice job. In 2013, that's how I realized I needed a MAAP plan. And then in 2015, my husband broke his humerus, the bone between his shoulder and his elbow. And I realized not only was I smart to make my MAAP plan to take care of me, my pets when something happened to me, but it was really incredibly helpful when I was taking care of him, because I knew I could pick up the phone and call one of the 3 caregivers who I had appointed to come over and take care of the pets while I was taking care of my husband. Not to say that men are not the best patients in the world, however, not necessarily, and I just want to put that out there. I love my husband, but he's not necessarily the best patient. So it was easier for me to call and have someone come and take care of my pets so that I could take care of him. And I really hadn't thought of that piece before he had broken his shoulder. I'd said, oh, something happens to me. I'm so glad I have my MAAP plan. People are going to come in, take care of the dogs. But then he broke his shoulder. I said, shoot, this MAAP plan not only works for me and if I get hurt, but it works for me if someone I love gets hurt. So that is unbelievable. And then as I was doing the mastermind, I tell you, when you do the mastermind, you learn so much. I learned so much, and the people who participate learn so much. One of the participants said, my daughter will take all of my pets, so, that's the only person I'm going to put down. And I said, well, that's great. I said, however, you might want to rethink that. And my only thrust was, you really need to have backup. You need redundancy. So you need your family member, one person. I always consider family members as one person because they're going to flip it between themselves. So it's one person. And then you need two people who are outside the family unit, a neighbor, somebody close by, maybe somebody far away, who would be able to take care or take the pet in the event you couldn't keep it long-term or short-term. And on the second meeting of the mastermind, this member said, you know, I was thinking about what you said, and wouldn't it be great if I let my kids off the hook and didn't make them feel guilty about not taking my pets if, in fact, they really couldn't? And wouldn't it be great if I said, well, Susie, you can take my dogs, cats, horses, parrots, whatever animal you have, multitudes of animals, you can take them. But if you can't, I understand. And I've already spoken to Joan and I've already spoken to Andrew, and both of them said that they would take my pets if you can't. And I want to make sure that you don't feel guilty and that you know what I would do if, in fact, you couldn't take those pets. So this was huge. I had just learned another piece of why the MAAP plan was so important. So the first part was, okay, I broke my ankle and I'm making sure my dogs are taken care of when I'm hurt. Then my husband conveniently broke his shoulder, so I'm making the MAAP plan because I want to be able to take care of him, and so these people will help me take care of my pets while I'm taking care of him. And then the guilt factor is gone. How many of you know of people, and maybe you've done it yourself, where you've taken a pet that really didn't fit into your life because there was nobody else? Nobody had made a plan. There was nobody else. God bless you. You're the best person in the universe. But that's really not how likely you want your pet to find a home. You want your pet to find a home because you've chosen it for them as best you can. So we have make a plan, very key. We have address the needs of your pet, incredibly key. Appoint caregivers. Where do you find them? They're there. If you join the mastermind, I'll help you, but I'm sure you know at least 3 people, at least 3 people. And the 4th person would be a rescue or an adoption place where you might have adopted your dog so that the dog could go back. Not ideal. I get it. Not ideal at all. But at least you're making a plan so that they won't go back there. Everything has to sort of go wrong in order for them to go back there, but at least you have that as the fail-safe. And then the last part of the MAAP plan, you're probably wondering, what could P possibly stand for? You have to publish this plan. You have to let the people know who are taking care of your pets that they are the people you've appointed to take care of your pets. You have to let the people you know who those people are. So if it is your family, great. But then your family needs to know if they can't take it. It's Jean and Joan who are backups for the family. And they have to know that if Jean and Joan can't take it, that it's a rescue. What you want to make sure is that you publish it so that your plans are carried out. If you don't publish it, if you make a plan, address the needs of your pet, appoint caregivers, and you stick it in a drawer, it doesn't get done. It doesn't get done. So you really need to make sure that you publish it. You also need to publish it with your attorney who is going to make the pet trust, a whole nother discussion. How do you fund this? Well, a pet trust. You have to have an attorney who helps you make the pet trust, and all you do is refer to the MAAP plan in the pet trust, so you don't have to rewrite the pet trust every time you get a new pet or a pet goes before you to heaven, crosses the rainbow bridge. You don't have to rewrite the MAAP plan. You don't have to rewrite the pet trust because the MAAP plan is already referred to in your pet trust. And you have to let your vet know. Because if someone comes in to have your pet treated and they're not on the list of people who can bring your pet in to be treated, the vet is really supposed to not treat your pet. So you have to make sure that the vet knows who it is that you've appointed to care for your pets in the event, short-term, long-term. So as we come to the last 5 minutes of this program, anybody have any questions, please pop them in the box. If not, I'm going to sort of go over a little bit of what happened in the last week here at Hamilton Law Mediation. I went to the barn tour at Bedford here in New York, all these amazing and beautiful horses, and I asked some of the people who were there do you have a plan for these horses? Well, yeah, we'll take care of them. I said, is anything written down? No. I said, oh my God, these are 1,200-pound animals, and no one has made a plan that's written down. It's only maybe in their will, but nobody had a plan. Nobody had directives on their doors of their horses' stalls or in any place that I could see. And I asked, where are the directives of what happens? I don't know if any of you know about the fires that happened at a track in California, because the fire came down the hill and they just let all the horses go, which is what you're supposed to do. I'm not criticizing, but they had no plan. They had no idea what to do with the horses if the fire came down the hill, and it did. And then it's funny, the committee, the New York State Bar Association has a committee, Animals in the Law, and they're doing a disaster preparedness program this January. And I'm hoping that we get the AKC Reunite to come in. We also have HSUS response, disaster response team. We also have the Humane Society's, American Humane Society's disaster response team we're going to ask to come in, because these are all the people who come in and help you. But if you have a plan of your own and you are proactive and you do it yourself, your pets don't have to be part of this disaster program because you've made a plan. So you're ahead of the game. And I was so thrilled. I spoke at the Nova Scotia Duck Tolling Retriever National and the Airedale National, and told them about making a plan for their pets while also telling them what to do while they're driving cross country. And none of them had any sort of identifying information in their cars that went beyond them. And you might say, well, Debra, what are you talking about? I mean, it's their dog. Well, yeah, but if you're in a car accident, you better have information about that next person that needs to be called. Because if you're being taken away in an ambulance and you have show dogs, they're going to animal care and control. And depending on the laws in that town or that state, your dog may be required to be altered or spayed before you get it back. I'm just saying, you need to know the laws. You need to make sure that you put everything in place that keeps your pets healthy. Then we had this wonderful program about pet ownership in states. We did that. And then this is the last thing I'm going to refer to, but I just want you to know that this MAAP program is so important for you to take advantage of, because a herd of 200 horses are unexpectedly in jeopardy, beautiful, beautiful Appaloosas, because their breeder died unexpectedly. 200 horses went up for auction, and the older ones may have gone to slaughter. Who knows? Who knows where they went? Because they're not of value. And I understand that horse people are different than dog people, but still, if you don't make a plan, I mean, this person died, so it would have been in their will what to do with their pets, and they didn't have a will. So if you're a pet owner, you really need to make a MAAP plan. If you want help doing that, please join us in the MAAP Mastermind. I'm going to have Rose put the link to the program in the chat box. It's $267 to join us to become a part of the group, and you can stay for as long as you like, so that you make your MAAP plan. You work with people. It'll start again probably November 6th or 7th, because I want to do it before Thanksgiving, and we'll be done with it by the end of the year. We speak, well, maybe not, because people don't show up. So I try to have it done by the end of the year, but it's on your own schedule. I schedule, 60 minutes with me. You can talk to me for as long as you'd like on what you're stuck on, and I help you get the MAAP plan written. It's $267 if you pay it all together, or it's $97 for 3 payments. I just hope you can join us. It really is a plan you need to schedule into your day to make. Your pets are counting on you. They are really counting on you to take the time to make sure that you have a plan in place to care for them. Well, since I don't see any questions in the question box, Lynette, I'm so glad you came. Oh, wait. Oh, there's the link. Thank you, Rose. And you'll get an email after this so that you'll be able to sign up for the mastermind if you've missed the live program and you're listening to the recording. I am so grateful that so many people signed up to be part of this. I see that sometimes during the day they can't get here, but if you're listening to this, remember, your pet's counting on you. We don't have crystal balls. We don't know what's happening tomorrow. This person who had 200 beautiful Appaloosas didn't know they were going to drop dead unexpectedly in North Dakota, and their horses went up for auction. Just be smart. Do what it is you need to do to make sure your pets are cared for. If I can help you in any way, please don't hesitate to write. And if you can join us in our mastermind, I would greatly appreciate helping you make a MAAP plan to navigate the journey your pet takes when you can't care for it. This is Debra VeyVoda-Hamilton. Oh, thank you, Lynette. This is, all I want to do is help horse people because they don't. Lynette, thank you so much. It is so important. You really need to make this plan. Thank you so much. Navigate the journey your pet takes, especially the 1,200-pound ones, or better, the parrots who live about 60 years. So you know you're not going to outlive your young parrot if you're 40 when you get them. So I am so grateful all of you are here. I'm so grateful all of you are listening to the recording. Please join us. We will start the next MAAP Mastermind probably the first full week of November. And I look forward to seeing you there. Take good care and give your babies a hug for me. You've taken the first step, and I am eternally grateful. This is Debra VeyVoda-Hamilton of Hamilton Law and Mediation. If you have any conflicts involving your pets, call me as well. But if you'd like to make your MAAP plan and navigate their journey, please join us on our mastermind. Have a good day.